All right. Folks, I am very excited to welcome back to the Damn Digest the editor at large of The Journeyman, Marlon Weems, here with me to discuss the hypocrisy that is our quote unquote pseudo democracy and what Zoran Mamdani's mayoral win in the primary, in the New York City primary, signals for the establishment Democrats and more. Marlon, it is so good to see you. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to. Well, I'm always excited to talk to you, but this time I get to be a guest. I don't think I've ever been a guest before. So,
Well, welcome, welcome. So let's start off here. I want to get your reactions to one. New York City, we know, is for a lot of folks is the center of financial power, the center of media power. We know that when you're looking at the amount of money that comes through New York, our mayors are not your average mayors, right? They could be presidents of small countries with the kind of
absolutely.
with the kind of budgets that they are operating. And so there's national attention all the time to our races, whether they be governor or for mayor. But there was a significant amount of attention to this Democratic primary because of Andrew Cuomo trying to resurrect his political career, a disgraced former governor who was credibly accused of sexual harassment, who was credibly accused of lying about COVID deaths during COVID, among other things, entering the race, backed by billionaires. More money, Marlon, was put into this mayoral race, put into Andrew Cuomo's PAC than we have seen before in any other race. $25 million. Bloomberg came out for him. Bill Clinton came out for him. Jim Clyburn came out for him. All so that the Democratic Socialist, 33-year-old Zoran Mamdani, who cares about workers' rights, who cares about making New York City affordable, who is a progressive, wouldn't win. What are your thoughts about how you watched that race kind of shift?
I have never been so disappointed in Democrats. I mean, I'm sure they will do something else to top this, unfortunately, but to see someone like Kirsten Gillibrand, who ran Al Franken out of the party on a rumor, okay,
Yep.
jump out and back this guy who we know what he's admitted to.
Yep.
We already he resigned for whatever reason. He resigned, and they're gonna. That's how. But that tells me just how afraid the establishment is of people taking the power from them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it was Joy Reid. I heard I saw maybe I think she was on the Breakfast Club, and she
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
talking about the difference in Republicans and Democrats. Whatever you think about MAGA, Republicans said, "Oh, this is working.
We're gonna, yeah.
This is what people want.
Yep.
Okay, fine." And now they had to throw all their ethics and morals out the window. That's not us. That's not. This is what in the hell are we so scared about when it comes to people not getting their health care snatched from them, right? But what has happened, and I guess it's always been this way, but since like Citizen United, it's on steroids now, is the money,
Mm-hmm.
the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that Wall Street money did not want this guy to win. I have seen article after article after article talking about how unnerved Wall Street, how afraid they are, how the REIT funds, you know, these are like securities that invest in real estate, which kind of control New York real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, they are so scared somebody might get their rent stabilized, you see, so they can't just rape and pillage like they've been doing. I lived in New York well, in the area for 13 years when I was working on Wall Street. And then, but I mean, I've been going to New York for years, so I kind of know the city. And it's just, how in the world are we going to say what we've been saying about Trump and turn around and you know even think about this guy? And I even heard some people talking about, well, are Democrats now, are they going to gravitate to Eric Adams?
Oh,
Do we
this
know what
that is
criminals are?
this is like
That's the
this is
question.
that is my theory. They are, and I scared is not even I think the right word. These people are so depraved and they are so grotesque that any form of the people having power, of the people having a living wage, of the people having an affordable roof over their head is somehow an affront to the 1%, that they can't feel like they can rule, Marlon, unless their boot is on the necks of the average person, of the worker, right? That, oh my goodness, wait a minute, we're going to not have as many strings to pull. We can't puppeteer you in the way that we want. We can't grind you in the way that we want. I was looking at the articles too. I was looking at The Economist that said New York took a quote strange turn. I was looking at Forbes, right? That also said, oh, the danger of Mamdani. And I said to myself, when you see both Republicans and Democrats using the same book and playing the same games, you know that no one is on the side of the people. And that's what I'm beginning to think. And so I
Hmm.
ask you, like, when you witness the same language, the same amount of greed, how do you think that the average voter is supposed to make a decision about what party actually has their back?
Hmm. you know to the point you just when I went to the No King protest. I had never actually been to a protest before.
Oh, I love this for
I
you.
mean, I'm from Arkansas. I grew up in Jim Crow, but I never actually,
Mhm.
but I was too young then. And my parents used to march all the time, and we're talking about the late 60s. But I have been able to enjoy progress most of my life. So really, I haven't been in a place where a protest happened and I felt like I needed to be in it. But this one, and so just to for folks who don't know, I'm in North Carolina. I live on an island, and it's like I'm an anomaly almost. I mean, there's some black folks around, but not very many. There are more Hispanic people around than black. So I expected it was probably just going to be me and a few folks.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
this is like, it's not. I wouldn't. Well, it's Trump country, but it's not like over the top, and much less so than it was in 2016. So I showed up, had on my Green New Deal shirt. I was
Mhm.
like, and when I got there, we basically walked across this bridge to the mainland and back. That's where people were protesting. And I don't know who I expected to see, but when I got there, I was hearing all these car horns, and it was like cars backed up over the bridge. And I'm like, oh
Wow.
shit, it's gonna be these Trump people hazing
Right.
us. And no, it was white folks coming out. People I saw faces, people I kinda knew, people I knew pretty well, didn't think they would I didn't expect to see them. So when you got old white folks, young people, women carrying like virtually newborn babies walking this bridge protesting, all kinds of veterans with amputees. I mean, just all
Mm.
across the spectrum. And I mean, it was actually one of the most uplifting things I've done in a while, because I was so prepared to be disappointed. And it wasn't that. And I was like, I mean, we're still talking about it. I was like, boy, that's how bad it is.
Yes.
That's how bad it is when these old white ladies come out and they're like, hell no, you know, and they probably back in the 60s were probably hippies out there, protesting for equal rights or whatever. But as you know, over time, a lot of those same people now they're way on the far right. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I just don't know what Democrats. I've written about this.
Mhm.
And it's these old people, and they just don't want to let go. They're still fighting the last war like it was in the 90s or something like that. And they don't want to see no succession planning. Look at what just happened to Jasmine Crockett. And look, Garcia, he's okay. But so we wanted AOC and we ended up with him. He's more palatable, he's a man, etc. And it's like every time there's a decision to be made, they make they take
Wrong
the
one.
easy way or the wrong one. Yeah. And I think people are they've had it. They've had it.
I think that too. It's the feeling, it's a sense that I have been talking about on all of my shows, which is that the No Kings protest should have signaled, let me say this, should have signaled to the establishment Democrats that the people have had it, right? That it isn't just one group of people. It isn't just the liberals. It isn't just the progressives, that like America has had it, right? And that they're hip to the tricks that politicians have been doing, right? Whether you're on the right or you're on the left, what is bipartisan, Marlon, is their greed. What is
Hmm.
bipartisan is their greed. Because the other day that came out, right, and I wanted to talk to you about this, is the amount of Republicans and Democrats that own Palantir stock. Palantir, that is the tech platform backed by Peter Thiel, that has the largest contract, the only contract with ICE for these mass kidnappings and deportations. To now, the Supreme Court says that it's totally fine to go to third party countries, right? Like the war torn South Sudan, like El Salvador, etc. And so when I saw the list, and I did an interview that is up right now on my YouTube with my friend Wajahat Ali with Representative Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna is on that list that has
Hmm.
Palantir stock. And
Yep.
I said to him, Representative, how do you talk about the Democrats not wanting to be hypocrites and have this moral high ground, and you own Palantir stock? And his response, Marlon, was like, oh, well, people need to understand mutual funds and they need to understand, like, how. And I said, no, I'm pretty sure I know exactly how they work. And much in the same way that I have decided as an individual, Target doesn't support diversity, equity, and inclusion. Guess where my money's not going? To Target, right? So you have choices that you make when you're looking at how you are saving your money, how you are investing your money, and you can very well talk to your financial planner. He did the Washington two-step on me. And so, what do you make when it seems to be that the only thing that Republicans and Democrats have in common is their greed and the ability to make money off of their positions?
You know, I understand mutual funds, and you can buy a mutual fund that does not have Palantir in it. Okay. But you see, when you talk about Ro Khanna, he's in California, right?
Hmm.
Who
Oh, he
who is
represents
buttering
Silicon
his
Valley.
bread? Who is buttering his bread? The
Right,
tech industry.
right.
Okay. So look, he could not own any stocks. He doesn't have to. He could put his money in T bills. Maybe he's not young. He's probably already rich. If he really, really wanted to, like, he could he could do any number of different things to not be exposed to have somebody ask him what you
Hmm.
asked him. Now, some kind of way, I think AOC has probably figured out how not to have that problem. I didn't see her name, but I'm not saying she's perfect. But the point is, there's a reason why they have not outlawed insider trading for people in Congress. There's a
Correct.
reason, because they want to keep making that money.
Yep.
And speaking of Palantir, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene, made a big investment in Palantir right before that same ICE contract,
Yep.
right before Trump announced on Liberation Day back in April.
Mm-hmm.
She knew to dump all her stock and get out of the way because she knew the market was getting ready to crash. How'd she know that? I
Donald
can't.
Trump was on
I,
Truth
me and my
Social talking
boys that
about buy the dip, buy the
listen,
dip.
guys that I used to work with, we talk all the time, and we're just like, there is no way you got a commerce secretary and Howard Lutnick, who we know. I literally the trading floor I used to run was one floor below the trading floor of Cantor Fitzgerald, where he was the CEO. I've been 10 feet from this guy a number of times, and everybody knows the kind of guy he is. And you can't tell me, with all of this going on, market just going all these crazy gyrations, you cannot tell me this guy ain't talking to folks and saying, hey, here's what's up.
Market manipulation right out in
We'll
front.
probably never know. But I'm telling you, there has got to be so much insider trading, so much front running, so much shit that just is like flat out illegal. But we ain't even worried about legality anymore. So there's that.
You mentioned before that No Kings was your first protest.
Hmm.
And you said that you grew up in Jim Crow.
Hmm.
A
I didn't go to
little,
school with white people till I was in the 7th grade.
which is just,
I, I'm
when
not
we
100 years old.
right, and this is what I wanted to say
Okay.
is that like when we talk about this era, Jim Crow lasted it lasted 100 years.
Yep.
But the people that experienced Jim Crow, to your point, are not 100 years old, right? They're in their 60s,
Yeah.
70s, right? Who remember that kind of segregation. Like, so it's always as if people want to believe that America has come so far. And yet, it is in the span of your lifetime that you went from having no second class citizen rights to some more rights to now being at a space, Marlon, where we're could be back to ground zero. What do you think? Like, how do you even make sense of that? Like, of your kind of lifespan mirroring the limited amount of progress that we've had, but America loves to champion as if, look how far we've come. It's been a long time when it's only been this
I have said
short
it
period.
before, Danielle, when I hear people talk about American exceptionalism, and I understand, politically why guys like Obama have to say what they say, but we have this country has done such a just an exemplary job in selling the myth. I have been I when I was in junior high school, tried to join a boys club and got kicked out because it was for white folks only. So I'm not just talking about some shit I read. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I guess when that's the way it is, you just keep it moving, right? And
Right,
just
right.
but and so I'm not saying I'm some victim. I'm just saying that's the reality of America. And that is why I was talking to my oldest son today. Um, and he's almost 40. And just kind of we were just talking about some of these very things. And I was just saying to him, and he'll be mad at me, but he probably ain't gonna watch this anyway. He said to me he doesn't vote, and I said, I mean, he's 1,000 miles away from me, so it's not like I can do anything about it. But I just said to him, "Let me tell you, son, your grandmother, my mother, marched in Little Rock, Arkansas in the 60s, late 60s, pregnant with my youngest brother, and
Mm.
got her ass knocked down the stairs of the state capitol of Arkansas for protesting. Marble State. You know, the state of Arkansas state capitol is a replica of the US Capitol. I said, so now you know that. What do you think she would think? Because she was marching so you could vote. And I just went on to tell him, look, a whole lot of people got their ass kicked for you to have the ability to vote. And so by you not voting, guess what? You really are voting.
Yes.
You're voting. You're just not doing anything. And, you know, as you can imagine, was a little bit of silence right there. But I look, that's what I would tell any person who said, I don't vote. A non-vote is still a vote.
Right. You just are you're choosing
Yeah,
not to participate. Like when people say, I don't really care about politics, politics does, and I'm like, you don't really care about politics. Politics sure as hell cares about you.
sure does.
So did he provide, did your son provide a reason
He
as
is,
to why?
I will tell you, I have two older sons from my first marriage, both in their 30s. And it is amazing. And one of them's in Arkansas, one of them is in New York now, but he spent a lot of time in Israel. He's in a band, he's a front man for a band. When I talk to them, I can hear all of the keywords that let me know that they've been hearing some Joe Rogan, they've been hearing some of that Peterson guy. You know, like today I was talking to my son and he says, I something of just the word indoctrination. It's not a word I would expect to hear from him. And I clipped him right there. I'm like, tell me about that. What do you mean indoctrination? Oh, well, he couldn't really even explain what he's talking about, but that let me know he's been listening to Tucker Carlson because that's their target audience is,
Mhm.
you know, and so I have to work to try to counteract some of that shit because unfortunately, neither one of them, you know, they went to school in Arkansas. So even before they started banning books, they still were not trying to teach them
Right.
anything,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so there's so much, I guess I'm fortunate in that they will reach out to me when something doesn't seem right. And it's like, Dad, what do you think about this? Usually it's something to do with finance just because of my background. But I can use that to pull stuff out of them so I can tell where their mind is at. And they're not out here voting for Trump, but it's still they're affected by this crap, you know, that targets young single men.
You
So
know,
yeah,
and that is so interesting to me because one, you know, you assume that there is so much information, more information that people have in their hands and at their fingertips than I did when I was growing up, right?
yeah.
Than you did when you were growing up, and yet can be so misinformed.
Well, you know the problem, and I actually so the reason I was even talking to my son is he's really into like digital currency and he's very knowledgeable. I think some of that is because he's my son and you know he grew up hearing about markets and all this stuff. But he would say, Dad, what do you think about X? And I'm like, and my first question is, where'd you hear it? And it's some guy on YouTube. And I literally have spent the last 2 or 3 days trying to educate him on getting his information from disinterested sources. The
Mm,
people he's getting his Bitcoin information from, it's really more of a sales pitch than an
mhm,
analysis. So it's guys that have something to gain by saying
right.
what they're saying. And he's like, well, so and so said that, I saw something on Bloomberg. I'm like, really? You got Bloomberg? Well, no, a guy wrote an article that said that's what Bloomberg said. No, 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 dude, go
Yeah.
get you, go get you a Fire Stick and plug it in your TV, and you can get Bloomberg for free. Spend $40 so you can go to the source. They've never been taught how to go to the source. And that's
Hmm.
why they get so much misinformation, because they're listening to some person that sounds, they're saying all the right words, but it's not exactly the way shit is.
Yeah, and and I'll say this because somebody had put it in the chat and I wanted to lift it up. 90 million people didn't vote in 2024.
I know. They don't
90
realize the power that
million
they have.
people. They said that according to the University of Florida Election Lab, approximately 245 million Americans were eligible to vote in the 2024 general election, and 90 million did not.
Why do you think Republicans always working so hard to keep folks at home? Look at because they are afraid, as are Democrats, that what happened Tuesday would happen nationwide.
Hmm. And
And that's
here's
it.
yeah, and here's what I'll say as we close out, and I'm so grateful to you
Oh, thank
for
you for having me. I really, I always enjoy talking to you.
yeah, I'm so grateful is that, I'm glad that you did not admonish your son for saying that he didn't vote and doesn't vote, and instead met him with a story that hopefully he can connect to, right? About his grandmother, about what she endured, instead of just saying, I'm done and throwing up our hands. I think that what you
I mean,
did
we've
with,
had those fights.
but I mean,
But I
and
mean,
people,
you get to a point where this is a grown man I'm talking to. So, yeah, I didn't want to push him further away. I want to bring him closer, because I know he has some respect for me, but I know he loves his grandma, even though she's long passed away. I mean, when I used, me and my ex-wife used to go to work, that's who raised him, right? So he still has that memory, and I knew the mental picture of his grandma getting pushed down some steps and beat up. I knew what that was going to do, and it's for real, you know.
right.
So I think that's what we have to do, because and one thing I noticed just kind of on social media after this election Tuesday, young people know they did this. They know they did this, and hopefully we can put, capture that lightning in a bottle and do something with it. But yeah, we gotta get some of these old folks, and I can say this because I'm an old folk. We gotta get some of these people just to either, lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way.
I know that's right. Marlon Williams, I thank you so much for joining me here
My
at the
pleasure.
Damn Digest. Folks, if you have not subscribed to the Journeyman, make sure that you subscribe,
Thank
subscribe,
you.
subscribe. And the same with the Damn Digest, subscribe. Both of us have really good conversations with each other, but really good conversations that we put up because that is where we need to be, in conversation with one another, empowering one another, and pushing this country forward. So, Marlon, I thank you, my friend, and I will see you and chat with you again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Danielle.
everyone, for joining. Appreciate you.